Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
I think it's good to hear that song again.
Yeah.
Finally, we didn't mess it up this week. But how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Super Bowl week. Pretty exciting. A lot going on in college basketball. Trades are starting to happen. The NBA trade deadline is Thursday, I believe, at 3:00. Some interesting MLB news that happened. A couple trades that broke. A team potentially pulling out of the WBC for insurance reasons, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen anymore, which we'll get into later. And Akeem is going to be our UFC fanatic because I know little to nothing about UFC. So I will be along for the ride and listen to what you have to say, sir, about UFC. Hopefully I get to learn a little bit more. But do you want to start off with NFL or college basketball? What are you thinking today?
I think it has to be college basketball, especially what we saw last night.
Last night, yeah. I mean, Darren Peterson was that dog, right?
Yeah.
He just took over. I texted you about it. I was like major Anthony Edwards vibes. Like he could suck, but completely take over in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, he had back-to-back threes. Obviously, earlier in the game, he was struggling. He was like at the end of the game, 5 of 19. He was just struggling terribly throughout the whole entire night. But those big back-to-back threes, I mean, it was key for them in that game. They were down by 10 at one point, and then they started climbing back into the game because Texas Tech was making turnovers, turning over the ball. But Darren Peterson, I mean, I think he proved in that BYU game as well, which we were talking about. He might be the number one pick over AJ.
I think he is the number one pick. I mean, with the way he's built and the way he could get to the rim, he has that outside shot. He's not as skinny as AJ, which everyone was obviously concerned about with Cooper Flag. And then you got like builds like Kristaps Porzingis and stuff like that, where you could be a little bit more mobile, but you can't really have that post game. I think Coop has a little bit of a post game, but he's more of an exterior player. Like he'll drive on you. But I think with him, he's just going to take it down at the rim and he's just going to do whatever he wants. He had some nice finishes against BYU earlier this weekend. And obviously it wasn't the game that he was looking for yesterday, but he took over like that outside fadeaway on the elbow three to tie it. And then the winner just pull up in your face. Like, yeah, I'm going to hit this. I'm like, oh, this kid's a dog. I remember you texting me saying, oh, game. I wanted to respond to it. I'm like, but when Texas Tech was up like 10 or 8 or whatever it was at one point after back-to-back threes, he's like, game. I wanted to pull up the receipts, do a reply, do ... But that kid's a dog. I think he's going to be the number one pick. And I mean, I don't know, man. Tech is, I don't know, man. They're going to drop. I don't know what time specifically the poll drops. I know he's looking it up right now. Let's see.
I mean, Texas Tech right now, they were going into that game?
They were 8th, I believe, or 8th or 11th.
They were 13th, and they got their 6th loss. But like you said, mentioned before, we haven't mentioned, they lost to UCF, which is an unranked team, away at UCF. So I'll give them a little bit of a break there, but still. You lose to UCF after you beat Houston in a really great home game, and they also beat BYU. For them to lose against an unranked UCF team and then at home against Kansas, when you're up by 10 with 4 minutes remaining, I mean, it's kind of bad losses string back-to-back like that.
So, yeah, no, I was looking at – I'm used to the Monday schedule because that's the AP poll releases. So Tech is at 13. They dropped 2 points after their loss to Kansas. They're going to – after their loss to BYU, excuse me. But – I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to drop a little bit more. I mean, to only drop 2 points after losing to UCF, yes, UCF is a great team, very underrated. I think it should be definitely lower than 13 after those 2 losses. The UCF loss was bad. I have it in my notes here. It was just that defense, man. They can't stop anyone. They're 40th or whatever, 41st in the country in KenPom right now, I think, in defensive efficiency.
Yeah, gave up 88 points to an unranked UCF team, which is, I won't say mid-major. There's still like a high D1 major school, especially for basketball. But, I mean, there's levels between them and Texas Tech and other top teams like Kansas, Iowa State, Arizona. They've been playing well in the Big 12, though. UCF, they're 17-4, 6-3 in the conference. So they're kind of underrated, but obviously them being unranked, you wouldn't think they will be, beating Texas Tech. Who have JT Toppin, who should be a first-round pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah, no, they've looked lost the last 2 games. I mean, even the offense. I know they were missing a star player, Tech, last night due to an illness, didn't play all game. But still, you gotta have that lead. You can't be blowing an 8-point lead late in a game like that, and that's gonna potentially hurt your resume down the line. Losing at home to Kansas when obviously Darren Peterson didn't have his best game until the final 5 minutes of the game. That should be a win for you no matter what. Well, who knows? I mean, it's still a month left of basketball. Conference tournaments are going to be starting within a month and a week. I believe it's the first or second week of March is we're going to see conference tournaments. So that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Teams getting auto bids and potentially losing in first or second round is going to really hurt their resume and maybe drop a couple seeds. But a team that is really going to drop a couple seeds and I think not going to be as highly touted anymore is Alabama. They got killed against Florida. Like it wasn't even close. And I think we talked about last week when it was the front court needs to show up. And they obviously show up day in and day out. It's the backcourt that really needed to figure their stuff out. And when you have Boogie Flam playing as well as he did, he wasn't the scorer that he's thought to be, right?
Yeah.
But he played great defensively. I think it was like 8 steals or something on that game, but his defense showed out. And when one player in that backcourt plays well, that completely changes who this Florida team is. And obviously, Xavier Lee is still struggling. I think there's still I don't even know if it's a transition period anymore because it's been months since he's left Princeton to go to Florida, and he has been very underwhelming throughout the year. But it shows that once that one point guard is good, that changes the whole roster. Because, like I said last week, the backcourt is the facilitators of that team. And if one player of that backcourt does well, the rest of the Florida team is going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Condon, Thomas Howe, Chimilu, that's their core team, like they saw from last year when they won. Not last year, the year when they won the national championship. Last year, they kind of struggled. But like you said, Boogie Flam, Xavier Lee, when they get cooking, the team will start winning. Boogie Flam was good. Xavier Lee still needs to pick it up because he's a 3-point shooter. That's the main reason why they brought him from Princeton, one of the best 3-point shooters out in at Princeton. So I still think they're a dark horse. They've streaked a bunch of games in a row against some top-ranked teams. Obviously, Alabama, we've discussed that. They kind of deserve that loss with having a NBA G League player on the squad, which
he played awful. Did you hear what they chanted at him?
Yeah.
G League dropout. That's so funny.
It's true.
It is true. And he played terrible. Bediaku, or but I don't even know how to pronounce it. Nor do I even care to pronounce it correctly because
Bediaku, I think that's how you say it. But yeah, he deserved those boos and those jeers because I mean, you're coming from the G League. Why are you going back to college? And apparently, what I saw from another report, UCLA, if you remember, Amari Bailey, he went to the league, he went to the G League, then dropped out, and he's trying to do the same thing this dude is doing.
But he played in the NBA, right? He played 10 games with the Hornets, and he wants to go back. I'm like, dude, yeah. And the thing about Bailey, I think, in the Alabama player was, I guess their agents told him that they were NBA ready when they were clearly not NBA ready, and they declared for the draft, and that's obviously hurt their stock, and they went undrafted, played in the G League, couldn't compete with G League players. So if you think you're going to compete with G League players who could be potentially a very hot take, I think the college players are a lot better than G League players, especially with this young class and how they're playing. I mean, throw this young class into the G League, they're going to do crazy things. But I don't know. The G League, if you play in the G League, I don't think you're allowed because, again, like I said last week, it's just one of those things that you're going to play players who are on two-way contracts, right? You're going to be playing players who have NBA experience, and you're going to gain NBA experience over 18 and 17-year-olds. And is that right? I don't think that's right at all. But, again, Baylor's been struggling with that kid they brought in. Alabama, Bediaku. Yeah, he's not playing good. It's not going to help his stock at all. If Bailey gets in, then the whole system needs to be fixed. And I love what the head coach of Florida said pregame to it's like, it doesn't matter that he's going to play. We're going to beat him. And they beat him handily. And I think it's very deserving to say the least.
Yeah, 100 points. There was like, I think it was like going into the game, well, when they were closing on to getting 100 points, that was like the third or fourth time they dropped 100 points in Alabama. So, I mean, they've been destroying them recently, but Florida is a team to watch out for.
Yeah, Howe and Condon played big games. I love that front court, man. They're always going to show out. And a team that showed out with a much-needed win against a top 10 opponent was Michigan. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch that, obviously, because I was at work. But they kept it close, but Michigan pulled it out a little bit late. There was a trend for a few few games this weekend. That was one that Michigan pulled it out late, was expected to win. Another team that pulled it out late after trailing by 12 was Louisville. Trailed by 12 early in that first half and then dominated the rest of the way. Same thing can be said for Arizona, who played Arizona State. It was close early in the game. They pulled away, and Louisville trailed by 12. I didn't get to say to SMU. So again, those are two teams that should have won, kept it close relatively early, but then obviously they figured out their stuff in the locker room and pulled out the win. And another player that you were very high on that had a very, very big game this week was Wagler of
Yeah.
Illinois. How about them fighting Illini?
I mean, like I said, I mentioned before, like they have the players. They're really underrated. Keaton Wagler, like we said, Andre Stojakovic, son of Paige Stojakovic, transfer from Cal. They have Colin Boswell as well as a third-year guy. He's a really good recruit when he's coming out of high school. They got a lot of European players. Their names are kind of hard to say, but they're really, really good players. And I think that in the Big Ten, I think they're the team to probably fear because you have Michigan who just beat Michigan State.
Michigan's very underwhelming. That's for sure.
They're very up and down. One week they beat Michigan State, and then the week before they lose to Wisconsin at home, which is, Wisconsin's a good team. They're an underrated team. We'll talk about them for a little bit. But, for the most part, I think most people will put Illinois, Michigan State as those top tier teams. But in my opinion, I think Illinois is probably the best Big Ten team in the country right now.
Yeah, 11-1 at home, winners of 11 straight, 10-1 in conference, joining Michigan at the top of the Big Ten standings. Followed behind them are Nebraska, Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin. That Big Ten, man, is got some powerhouses in there. And when you were saying earlier, Wisconsin, right? They've had a couple really good wins this year. That's a scary team I don't want to face in the tournament that could easily kick you out, right? It was a bad loss to USCS, but they've taken care of business. Again, they beat Michigan, right? That was Michigan's first loss of the year. They kept it, I wouldn't even say relatively close with Purdue, but they kept it close within, not really. They had 9 points. They lost by 16. They kept it close the majority of the game. Again, it wasn't like a full-edged blowout. But again, that Wisconsin team I really like. Just seeing them play. They had a really good game against Ohio State too a few days ago on Saturday, and they could cause some noise. Let's see. They got demolished versus BYU, but that was BYU. Can't really say anything against the big dogs, but I think the way that BYU is playing now, I think we talked about it. Kansas found that recipe is you find one way to stop AJ DiBentanza and you're winning that game. Obviously, Saunders went off in that game, 30 points, went ballistic from 3. But I think it's you stop AJ, you win that game because obviously he had average numbers for a player of his standard, right? He should be dropping 25 almost every game. But when you hold him to under 20, I think you have a chance to win. And that's what Kansas did. They found a way to stop him. But also one thing I want to talk about in that game was if Darren Peterson is going to be that number 1 pick, he's got to figure out that health concern, right? It's at the whole second half with cramps. And I think it reminds me a lot of when Paulo Banchero was at Duke. A lot of the cramps, the sweating problems, and not always healthy. But once you get to the NBA, you have millions of dollars into your own health. I think that's what's going to help him out in the future. Is just having that money to help him with his health and dealing with that cramp. Like we haven't really heard of that since Paulo got into the league anymore ever since he left Duke.
Yeah, no, I think in the NBA, like you said, you get better condition because it's more money. You have more avenues of getting better, conditioning from top guys around the world. But like you said, that is an issue, but I don't think it will be that big of an issue because you saw in back-to-back games when you need him, he'll step up. He'll score 18 points. He'll hit back-to-back threes. He'll take those big shots that nobody on the team wants to take, and he'll take it with 100% confidence and knock him down. So I think respectfully, he's probably going to be the number 1 pick. Even though AJ DiBentanza has the physicals, he's 6'10", probably grow up maybe to 6'11". Can play multiple positions. Peterson's 6'5", 6'6", around the same size as Anthony Edwards. Super athlete. His 3-point shooting is not the greatest, but it was great the past couple of games. But having a 2-way wing, which is pivotal in the NBA, which Darren Peterson is, it probably elevate him to the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I think he has that build, and everyone's very high of him, and I don't blame him. He's obviously one of the best players in the league this year in college basketball. So, we'll have to wait and see, right? It all depends on how they perform in the conference tournament that's going to be starting on March Madness. They're going to get there, what seed they play, how he's going to play when the lights are bright. But we'll see. It's it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's still 1A, 1B pretty much with Peterson and DiBentanza, but I think that whole top 10 is just going to be a great class. I think it's one of the strongest draft classes, for at least freshman wise. We've seen it in a long time. And say if a JT Toppin decides to declare as well, he's a junior, right? JT, or is he a senior?
I think JT is a senior, if I'm not
Okay, so
mistaken.
he probably would have to declare. It might be out of eligibility because I think this is the first year that these kids don't have the COVID eligibility. So if you're a senior, then I think it's time for them to at least declare for the draft, and especially at JT Toppin.
Oh no, he's a junior.
He's a junior, so he
Yeah.
could have one more year theoretically if he wants. But I think you ride the success this year, and I think you declare.
I mean, yeah, depending on how high he wants to be drafted, because I feel like if he were to, stay, there's a good chance he could become the number one pick or top 5 at the very least next year. Like I said, this freshman class, you got Cam Boozer, you have Keaton Wagler, AJ Devanta, Kingston Fleming, you have Caleb Wilson,
Darius Acuff.
Darius Acuff. Like, you have a bunch of kids in this draft, and also Darian Peterson as well, who can be player of the year this year. I mean, and also you also have Kopete, Braden Burries. Like, you have a lot of top guys in this class. So you're talking about Nate Amena as well. Like, we just talked about 10, 12 players that could be the first 12 picks, and we haven't talked about JT yet. So he probably will be. He could still be a lottery pick, but does he have the skill for the NBA? Yes, I think he can. This all matters is who's going to draft him and develop him the right way.
Yeah. And another team I really want to talk about that I think is flying under the radar for a lot of people right now is Texas A&M. They are top of the SEC right now in the standings, and they are a team that's going to cause some ruckus. They have 2 big games coming up this week. They go to Alabama, and then Florida travels to A&M, and then they have a little break with Missouri coming in, and then they have Vandy next Saturday on the road. So that's going to be the real test for this A&M team. I love what I'm seeing from that A&M team. They've just been playing great basketball. Sucks that they aren't ranked. I think they deserve to be ranked right now. I guess that loss to SMU early in overtime could hurt them a little bit, but they beat an Auburn team in early July. They kept it close with Tennessee. They beat Texas on the road. Like, that A&M team is really good, and I think this week is going to be the real test. And if they come out winning, I think 2 of those games they'll be ranked, or even 1 they'll maybe sneak in, because I think they are, the first team out in the top 25. They're receiving 83 votes. So I think a win with over one of those teams and keep the other game close is really going to put that A&M team on top.
Yeah, they have a tough road ahead of them. Alabama away, which they're going to be looking for revenge after they got blown out by Florida. Florida right after that. Then Missouri at home, and then they play away at Vandy. Vandy's a tough place to play. So, this is a litmus test in the next 4 games if they're a legitimately good team. They're a good team, but are they a great team? That's what matters when you get to the SEC, when you play these top level opponents.
And another upset that took place over the weekend was Kentucky defeating Arkansas in the John Calipari Bowl. Shout out to Blair Academy. The kid who went off in that game was Otega Owe, Blair alum. So shout out to Blair Academy. I love shouting out that school when I get the chance from my younger sister and my parents. And they also have a Duke commit going from Blair to the Blue Devils. Deron Rippey, the number 1 kid in the state of New Jersey. That Duke class is going to be stacked, man. They got like 3 players in the top 15 committed to them.
I mean, they always have like 5. They always have at least 3 to 4 5-star kids always go in that program. But yeah, it's cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, good for Blair getting the success. But again, Arkansas couldn't really catch any offense at all. Kentucky came out like they were more ready to play in that game, and it was never a competition at that point. It got close at some points, but it was always going to be Kentucky. I think something was off for Arkansas that day, and what can you say? I mean, it's one of those days, but
they're still a good team. But like you said, when we mentioned before, Darius Acuff, he showed up in the game, 22 points, but everyone else on that squad wasn't consistent. I mean, just looking at stats, I mean, Carter Knox, 16 minutes, 0 points. Malik Thomas, who's another 5-star recruit, only 10 points. Nick Pringle, Trayvon Brazile, combined for 16 points. So if they're more consistent, they could be another underrated team in SEC, but Kentucky just had their number last night. This past weekend.
They had dropped 6 points in the AP poll from 15, I believe, to now going to 21. Another loss will kick them out.
Yeah.
I know you were not very high on our mid-majors, but We got our mid-major staying in the top 25 this week. SLU bumping up 2 spots to number 19, and the Miami of Ohio sitting at 23. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The big one's Buffalo this week for Miami, Ohio. SLU looks like an actual
Yeah, they look good against
Sweet
Dayton.
16 elite. I think a Sweet 16 team they can be when that roster clicks. That team is good. Like, that's not a basic mid-major. SLU is a great mid-major with our boy Robbie Avila, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as they call
Yeah.
him.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, yep, that's his nickname.
But I think that's obviously St. Louis would, if they face Miami for whatever reason, I think SLU would sweep the floor with Miami of Ohio. SLU is like an actual contender. I love SLU this year.
It just matters on who they get to match up against and who they qualify against in the tournament. When you look at those top teams above them, you have Virginia, you got Florida, BYU, Vandy, Texas Tech, North Carolina, Kansas. It's like they play like Illinois,
Yeah,
like I mentioned.
but I think
play-
if they're ranked top 19 right now, that probably puts them at, I would say, a 5 seed-ish, 5, 6 maybe. But that could be a team that's like people put in the books for if they do somehow get a double-digit seed. That could be an easy little upset right there. Let me check Joe Lenardi to see where he has them in his bracketology in terms of seeding.
because they most likely will finish 15th. Because when you look at a lot of their games, I don't think they're going to lose a game for the rest of the season. Dayton's probably the toughest team that they played for the rest of the season. And then you have George Mason, VCU.
He has St. Louis
Davidson.
as a 7 right now, projected to face
Yeah.
off against New Mexico. I take St. Louis in that game. I don't know why they're that low, in my opinion. I think they should be a little bit higher, but I get it because they're a mid-major. But they projected as an 11 seed and work their way up to a 7, right?
Yeah, and then once they bracket out of their group, I guess I don't know. We don't know all the March Madness bracketology yet for whatever group they're going to land in. But like I said, a lot of those teams above them, if they in a neutral site game, I'd probably pick those teams.
I mean, like looking at our top, obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think our top 5 in the AP would be a St. Louis. But then after like the 6-ish, I could see a world where they get an upset. I could see them beating a Gonzaga. I could see them potentially beating a Houston. Potentially.
Nebraska, okay.
Nebraska, I could see them beating.
Yeah.
I could see them beating a Purdue. I could see them beating a North Carolina. Really bad. It was a good win yesterday for North Carolina, but shouldn't have been as close as it was. 35 or 37-15 run to end the game. They were down 6 with like a minute left. Or they were up by only 6 after being up by 30. Hot take, I could see them beating a Florida. I could see them beating a BYU. Virginia, I could see them beating. Because again, the BYU thing, we talked about the recipe for that team to lose.
Yeah.
Put all your chips into stopping AJ DiMontanza. You're going to win that game. Florida, the backcourt has an off day. They're going to lose. So that's a world I could see them, right? I mean, they're really good.
Yeah, they have a chance, but
KenPom has them 23rd right now.
Yeah.
Or 24th over an Arkansas, over an Auburn, over an A&M, over a Nova, North Carolina, Kentucky. Like, they're over power conferences right now.
Yeah, they're a good team, but like you said, just has to take like an off day from a lot of these teams. Like you said, Florida off day of their backcourt.
I mean, they've always had off days with that backcourt.
That's true. But if Chimilu and Condon and all those guys, how start get going and get 20 points per game, I don't think anyone in St. Louis can even match those guys because the size of that team is just ridiculous. Like past the guard spot, they have like 5 guys that are 6'8" and taller, so they have a huge size advantage over them. Kansas, like I said, Peterson, he'll get going late in games, but if he could stay healthy, there could be a problem. Michigan State, they're really good. Houston, Nebraska, they're a bit iffy. Illinois, like I said, I really highly value Illinois. Arizona, Michigan, UConn, those are probably the probably top 3 favorites to win it all out. But you want to switch to now talking a little bit about NBA. We had a few trades. The Dennis Schroeder trade, Keon Ellis to the Cavs. Sacramento get DeAndre Hunter, which is kind of surprising that they gave away DeAndre Hunter and they extended him last season, which is kind of confusing to me. But it doesn't really move the needle for the Cavs, but it's an okay. It's like it's a swap basically. You're getting a 2-way player in Keon Ellis, getting rid of 2-way player for Hunter, basically. And then the Bulls get Dario Saric and 2 second-round picks. The Knicks been playing well.
Beat the Lakers.
Beat the Lakers.
Big win.
But the Lakers, I watched both the Lakers and the Knicks. They're both kind of similar teams. If LeBron and Luka are on the floor, they're just defensively just terrible. But sometimes they just
Got a big game tonight,
yeah,
or is
they
it
do.
tomorrow?
It's tomorrow against
tomorrow?
the Spurs, or what do they play?
Not the Thunder, the Nuggets.
They played the Nuggets, which last time out they were struggling. I was watching again; they were struggling in the first half, get cooked, and then Jamal Murray's bank shot at that half court, and I just turned off the game. And then apparently they came back and beat them. So, but now they have Jokic. In that game, they didn't have Jokic. With Jokic now back, they're looking like a championship contender now. But also they just wait on Cam Johnson as well. But
and then news I was shocked about yesterday. I could see your reaction to it there. Harden and the Clippers, for those who don't know, are working for another trade for another piece besides James Harden. They're going to trade James Harden, I believe, at the deadline. And the number one team right now that a lot of people are talking about for a place for James Harden is the Cleveland Cavaliers. It looks like they're going to be doing a swap for Darius Garland.
I mean,
for James Harden. Does it move the needle for me for the Cavs? No. I think I keep Garland, who's shown more potential, and Harden is washed. I mean, he hasn't been playing his best basketball in quite a few years. I mean, he started the year off very well. But once Kawhi came back, it was pretty much, again, Kawhi's team.
Yeah.
But I don't know why the Cavs would do this, or any team would do this for that matter.
It's crazy. The age gap difference, it's 10 years. Harden's 36, Garland's 26. Obviously, yes, Darius Garland, there was rumors before they gave him his contract extension that him and Donovan Mitchell weren't, they were clashing, that they don't really mesh well. And they don't really mesh well on the court. Darius Garland's not the greatest, assister. He averages almost 7 assists this year. His highest score ever that he ever had throughout any season was barely 20 points. He's a decent two-way player, even though he's kind of small and undersized for a point guard. He's even smaller than Curry. He's like 6 foot, 170 wet. Like, he's a very, very small point guard next to another small guard and Donovan Mitchell. I don't know how that's going to work. If they do that trade, then what are you going to do afterwards? You're going to keep so you got to convince Donovan Mitchell to stay after his contract extension runs out, because if they trade for James Harden, you got him for 1 year and that's it. Who's going to be his running mate? You're going to hope that Evan Mobley can take that next offensive leap. He took that defensive leap last year. He saw one defensive player of the year, but we're still waiting on him to, be that Chris Bosh level player that he was compared out coming out of college. So Cavs are in a weird predicament. I don't think they will do the trade, but there's a good chance they still could do it. And if they do it, it doesn't move the needle. No, it doesn't move the needle at all.
Yeah, I'm looking at other teams right now that they have potentially for Harden is Minnesota, Toronto, and Houston. I kind of do like the sneaky little Houston one in there.
Put him back to Houston with KD. That would be cool to see.
That would be, especially because no Van Vliet, right?
Yeah.
And then you get that experienced point guard or shooting guard, whatever they're going to have him as in Houston. I think Durant, Harden, and Sengun, 3 in that starting lineup would be very good.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep some of the young pieces. I think they're going to keep Thompson. I can see a Reed Shepherd maybe moving over. But yeah, those are the 4 teams right now that look like the most linked to James Harden. Thank God that there's not more, because I don't know who would want an old 35, 36-year-old James Harden.
Yeah.
Not a lot of teams.
No, he's 36 years old. He's averaging decent numbers points-wise. His field goal percentage is absolutely horrendous, 41%. Well, averages up to 42%, but still, that's horrendous percentage. 36 years old. He's a former All-Star. He's a good player. He's, former MVP, but yeah, he's just not that MVP level player that anyone wants to trade for. Mm-hmm. And also, he's just terrible defensively as well. So it's it's like negative if you're trading for him. And
one question, since I'll have you now, do you think Giannis gets traded before the Thursday deadline?
Well, hearing the rumors that the Warriors are the most likely.
Warriors were the team. Timberwolves were also linked to him.
Which makes no sense to me. Like, the Warriors would literally have to trade. I don't think even the Bucks would even take that. Draymond Green, which it matches contract-wise. You get Jonathan Kuminga, which nobody even wanted him this past offseason. So the Warriors gave him like a little petty qualifying offer for another year or two. Then you get Moses Moody. Who else? Brandon Podziemski. It's like, it's not really a good package for the Bucks. The Knicks, like I said, even though I'm a bit biased, you get Karl-Anthony Towns. You can flip him next year. You can get a couple first-round picks from a team that it's, one piece away from getting, a championship run. Maybe you can trade into the Pistons potentially next year after this year. The only other team that's a possible link is obviously the Trailblazers because they have the Bucks pick. And then when looking at the players that they could trade, do you get Drew Holiday back and then maybe try and work a buyout for him, and then you get maybe Scoot. They want to keep Shaden Sharp. Denny Advi has an all-star. They're gonna keep him. Who else? Tumani Kamara. They're gonna keep him, obviously. So there's very few trade assets on that team. Maybe Donovan Clingan, but do you value him that much for a Giannis trade? So it's kind of iffy. It's mainly if they do trade into the Trailblazers, which I think he probably will get traded to if it's not the Knicks. Just mainly for the picks back because you just could be tanking for the next couple of seasons. Then drafted maybe Darren Peterson this year, or who else is potentially down the line that they can even get and develop. Yeah, I think Trailblazers is probably the number one trade spot for him. Hopefully it's the Knicks, but I doubt it's going to be the Knicks.
Yeah, looking at a couple of the headlines here, Giannis likely to remain with Bucks past deadline. James Harden and Clippers working to find a new home. Damian Lillard trying to recruit Giannis to Portland, as you just said. I think this really all revolves around mostly just Giannis. I haven't really heard much of anything else. Knicks saying Karl-Anthony Towns not off limits. Knicks try to find a new home for Gershon. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really been a crazy trade deadline. No rumors really going on as much. The big one, obviously, that actually went through was the Trae Young trade to the Wizards. He looks happy there. How he looks happy there, I really don't know. Because obviously that situation is 10 times worse than it was with the Hawks. Hasn't played a single game yet. Repping at least the DMV on his jerseys when he's out on the bench, jersey, which I think is really cool. So he's happy to be there, which also is a little weird because he's from a little bit more south and he wanted Washington as a home, which is obviously not very close to South. I could see it being a little bit closer compared to other targets for him, maybe, but didn't make sense. But again, trade deadline talk has been pretty quiet, at least for the NBA. And now, since we have a little bit of time and you have quite a bit, you want to talk about your UFC thoughts and of what happened this weekend?
Well, the UFC, we had Alexander Volkanovski facing off against Diego Lopez. It was a rematch. First fight was, relatively kind of similar to this fight. Volkanovski just stayed in range, in and out of range, pot shotting Lopez. Lopez had a few chances where he clipped Volkanovski, but outside of that, it was just, once Volkanovski started countering left to his Lopez power hand, which is his power hand, he's one of the best knockout artists in the UFC, but he's kind of one-dimensional. You've seen in this fight with John Silva prior to the Volkanovski fight, he was getting tagged in that fight constantly. So Volkanovski saw that in that fight and just implemented the same game plan. Mainly for Volkanovski, completed history, tying Jose Aldo for the most featherweight wins in championship history at featherweight. Movsar and Movsar Evloev, who's the number one contender in that division, is going to face off against Laurel Murphy. It's got announced recently in March, I think March 28th. It's a London card. So whoever's going to win that fight will most likely will face Volkanovski. And Volkanovski's getting up there and he's 37 years old. He's kind of already hinted that, he has probably a few fights left. So obviously, I think breaking the Jose Aldo record of getting 9 title defenses will be, the next thing on his mantle. And then once he accomplishes that, then there's no one really in the division that's, tantalizing or he can have a really good big fight against. If he beats, let's say hypothetically speaking, Movsar beats Lerone Murphy in March and then he beats Movsar, that's pretty much it. He can just hang it up. So he's probably the best featherweight of all time after that, eclipsing Jose Aldo. And other UFC fight prior to that was Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett got schooled in that fight. He was tough. He said Scouts was going to get knocked out. If you watch that fight, that dude was eating some big shots, getting knocked out multiple times, and survived the 5-round fight. Justin Gaethje is going to face Ilia Topuria, who's the lightweight champion. Ilia is currently out with issues. He's out with if you do search on Ilia Topuria, he's dealing with separation from his wife and is battling with divorce and stuff like that, and she accused him of stuff. So I'm not get that deep into it, but it seems like last time I saw it, he's in a better spot right now. So, by the end of this year, you most likely will see a Justin Gaethje versus Ilia Topuria fight. Yeah.
There we go. Good. I didn't know any of that. But now I do. I did see photos of Patty and his face
Yeah,
after
swollen.
with his girlfriend or wife, whatever it
Yeah.
was. It didn't look pretty, but I mean, UFC. That'll
Yeah.
be UFC for you. So we have breaking news that broke a little bit earlier. We'll end that. We'll end our show with that and a little bit of NFL. But we'll go into MLB a little bit. WBC insurance problems. That was the big headline for Major League Baseball this past weekend. A lot of denials coming out of the WBC, right? Lindor was denied insurance after committing all the way back in March to be the captain. Correa had issues as well with insurance. Altuve had issues with insurance as well. Jose Barrios, but everyone was really going at MLB and all the insurers specifically for Puerto Rico because it seems like a lot of their players are the ones getting denied. We don't have issues with that with Team USA. Team DR had a few issues with insurance, but they're all pretty much cleared up now. Venezuela having that one issue, obviously, with Altuve. Japan isn't really having any issues. Shohei was going to pulled out of pitching. It was his decision. Sasaki wasn't going to play at the Dodgers' decision, and I think that's the right choice. But I think insurance needs to be figured out. I think now they're looking for a private insurer to help hopefully get Lindor and Correa. Obviously, as a big WBC fan, and you want to see that tournament do well because when that tournament does well, all the other baseball leagues do well. All in Europe really has been picking up steam. Great Britain has been picking up steam a lot. Czech Republic was one of the biggest stories in 2023's WBC. And I think it's just figuring out the insurers, right? As a Dominican, I want to see the best players out there, and I would love to see a healthy Puerto Rico because I think they're one of the most fun teams in the tournament year in, year out. They have the emotion connected to it, and I think it really hurt more for Puerto Rico as they're one of the host cities, right, that are going to be hosting Pool A, I believe. So you want to see your best talent there, but I think that's going to leave Puerto Rico a chip on their shoulder, right? That's going to be like, all right, if they don't want to let our players in, let's prove them that they made a mistake and let's win this whole dang thing. And I know Puerto Rico is going to have something to say about that at the ceremony if they do raise a trophy, but I think that is something that needs to be really figured out sooner than later. I think when all the all-stars are able to play in that tournament, that's only going to do numbers for the tournament. And that everyone's been talking about that tournament since the pools have really came out. And looking at, for example, Japan's roster is a star-studded lineup. DR's roster is a whole all-star lineup. Yeah. Team USA is a whole all-star lineup as well.
Venezuela stacked as well.
And the one issue I had with the whole insurance thing was if you're not allowing Lindor to play, how the heck is Byron Buxton playing? That guy is always hurt. Yes, he had one of his healthier years this year, but he's always hurt. How did he get the insurance to approve it? But Lindor couldn't get it because of a surgery that he had. But he said he felt good. Correa was ramping up earlier than expected to play. So he's going to be ready earlier than expected. And if his body now has to transition to spring training, if he doesn't get approved in the final days, I know rosters were due this morning, but like it's throwing people off now from out of the blue saying, no, he can't play because insurance is denying him. I think that's one of the issues for this tournament is they got to figure out the insurance thing and hopefully they figure out something within the next CBA because we're going to go to a lockout. Hopefully they write that somewhere in the writing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that needs to be addressed because we want to see Lindor, especially with him being a captain for Puerto Rico. That means just so much more for Puerto Rico as a whole and the country.
So I would say a quick question. Obviously, you're gonna be a bit biased. If it does go through, hopefully it does go through because the last WBC was fantastic. Like you said, Japan's amazing, USA, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, PR. Who do you think will be in the final? Because last time out it was Japan and USA.
And Japan and DR on the same side of the bracket this year. So, I mean, I would love to see. I don't really remember much of the 2017 one. I wasn't big into the WBC when USA defeated DR, and I was obviously a little bit younger when they won in 2013. But I think again, a little bit biased. I'm going to be rooting for DR. But I think the main factor is going to be that 1-2 rotation of Skeens and Skubal at the top of the USA rotation. Obviously, DR has Christopher Sanchez. They have Sandy Alcantara. They have Duvall in the bullpen. But I think that just that pitching for USA, man,
it's lethal.
It's lethal. I think if DeRosa finds a way to make sure they're gonna get out of group stages. That should not be a question. They should find a way to make sure the best arms are for the knockout round, for the quarters, for the semis. Find a way to have that team there in the best possible way they can. Because I think you need to have a way where, say, if you are facing a DR, you cannot throw out like a Nolan McLean against that DR team. It needs to be Paul Skeens. It needs to be Tariq Skubal. But if they find a way to have that happen, I think it's going to be USA, unfortunately, on top, rooting for my DR. But I think it's going to be that pitching, man. I think that pitching is going to be the number one thing. Again, their bullpen is pretty good too. You have, David Bednar is in there this year. Mason Miller is in there. So, like, say if they're healthy, how the heck are you going to get through 5 innings of Paul Skeens and then go to Mason Miller or David Bednar?
Brad Singer, Brady Singer.
Oh, I think that's an old roster from 2023.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if there's 2026 USA.
I don't think they have that one out.
No, they released the official rosters. MLB Network, I believe, 7:30 on Thursday. Again, Joe Ryan is also there. You could throw him in the bullpen as well. Let me just see. Let me go on Twitter real quick just to see who they officially have.
Okay, you got to worry about Aaron Judge, obviously. He's
yeah.
And I mean, it's going to be tough for anyone.
That whole lineup is just like the Avengers.
Yeah.
And if you had Aaron Judge coming so early that he did, it's just.
Yeah, I'm assuming you still could potentially have Mike Trout in that lineup as well. Probably be his last WBC of his career.
Yeah, I think that's the one player that they're missing. USA WBC. Gotta find the pictures real quick. It sucks that they don't have the official roster, so you kind of have to go scavenging for it. Wow, Team USA potential World Baseball Classic lineup is worth $1.6 billion.
That's insane.
It's actually nuts. So I can't find the pictures officially.
Yeah, I don't think
Logan Webb as well is on there. Like, how are you expected to just like beat that lineup?
Yeah,
And that starting rotation? It's insane. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't find an official one because the announcements were posted throughout. Gabe Spires, another one, a good pitcher from the Mariners, is on there as well. But official rosters will be announced, so then we'll be able to go a little bit more in depth next week's show when they have the rosters officially announced. And then a couple trades that happened this week. I mean, there's one that really kind of potentially can move the needle. The White Sox acquired Jordan Hicks. And then the big one that broke yesterday was Brendan Donovan traded to the Seattle Mariners from St. Louis. The Cardinals received MLB's 91 prospect, Mariners 11 prospect, Cardinals, which turns into the Cardinals 15, the Rays 24 prospect, a couple picks, and the Rays acquired Ben Williamson. Does it move the needle for the Mariners? Not really.
No.
Lost out on Eugenio Suarez, went back to Cincinnati. That was another signing that took place over the weekend. But I don't know. I think it's still Toronto, Yankees, Dodgers, Mets.
Yeah, the top teams, yes. Those are probably the teams that will outlast them if they were to get to the playoffs. But still, the Yankees still haven't
really done anything.
Yeah, I mean,
right, they're gonna run it back.
Cody Bellinger, they resigned, but outside of that, they haven't done anything. It's been relatively quiet. It sucks that we didn't get Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, like we said in the last show, went to the Dodgers, which, I mean, we kind of expected, which we didn't want to happen, but it's expected to happen when you're not putting the money up. Bo Bichette, we were hoping could potentially get Bo Bichette or Alex Bregman. Bregman's now with the Cubs. Bo Bichette's now with the Mets. Framber Valdez is still out there, which could be a nice pitching rotation hand in our lineup, but I don't think they could offer him the money. It's just, we haven't really done anything. It's annoying, but just a fan of a club that has incompetent ownership, incompetent like general manager. Like it's just annoying. Like I said, mentioned before last time, Fernando Tatis. Hopefully, maybe you can potentially trade for him, but
I think it's too late. I think he's not stuck there. I can't even say that he's stuck there, but I think he's not going to leave there unless he leaves in free agency.
Yeah, I think he's content on just staying the Padres.
And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the big stuff that happened in the MLB. My little rant about the insurance. And I think the breaking news will end off with the NFL for the last 15 minutes of our show is that joining Bill Belichick in the not Hall of Fame is Robert Kraft, was not elected into the NFL Hall of Fame. joining Bill Belichick. Building a dynasty, I guess, doesn't get you into. No matter how much I hate
Yeah.
the Patriots, like I'm saying that wearing a Celtics hat because my team's kind of all over the place. But him and Belichick, I don't know
Yeah.
what you got to do to get in, and how are you not a first ballot?
I think maybe because he's obviously back to being head coach for North Carolina, but still, it shouldn't matter that he's still an active head coach. I mean, what's it? 8 Super Bowls he's won, 6 as a head coach.
Yeah, I think he should be in. I mean, he and Kraft built a dynasty, one of the most toughest dynasties we've ever seen, right? That it was Brady, Edelman, you had Gronk in there,
Yep.
and you feared them in the AFC, like, oh, you're gonna have to go through the Pats and have to go through New England. It's just like, and I guess that doesn't take you to where you need to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Most Super Bowl wins as a head coach, most Super Bowl appearances with 12, most Super Bowl appearances as a head coach with 9, most playoff wins as a head coach with 31, most playoff appearances as a head coach 19 tied, most divisional championships as a head coach with 17, 2000s All-Decade team, 2010s All-Decade team, 3-time Coach of the Year. I'm so confused by I don't know who does the voting because it's so confusing to me that he's not, elected first ballot. Like we said, mentioned before, Julian Edelman. Well, Julian Edelman's eligible, but he's not going to get into Hall of Fame. You have Tom Brady, you have Teddy Bruschi, you have Richard Seymour, you have, I'm like listing a bunch of names off the top of my head, Randy Moss. Like you have all these Hall of Fame players that he's coached, got Super Bowls, and he's not a part of it. I don't know. That's
Yeah, that's the thing I
to
don't
me.
get. I mean, it could be just everything that surrounded him with the whole couple scandals, right? They were both a part of, at least when Brady was there, and Kraft have his Kraft has his own issues off the field that he had come up like a few years back. But that's the only thing I could think of,
Yeah,
right? The scandals, right, between the organization. That's my only thing. I don't know why else you wouldn't put them in. But yeah, that was the one big news that really broke.
Yeah.
And then a couple of head coaching hires, and then we'll do some little predictions for the Super Bowl, and then we'll look back on it and be like, hey, let's see how we did. Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur, hired as the coach of the Cardinals. They need some offensive mind in there because ever since Kyler's been there, that offense has sucked.
Yeah, it's been
like
terrible.
holy cow! And you're gonna ruin a great tight end, Trey McBride, and half decent QB and Kyler Murray. Hopefully that really flips the switch, but the NFC West is going to be very competitive. It's still going to be Seattle next year. It's still going to be the Rams. The 49ers are still existing. So you're still going to be a bottom team in the NFC West. Again, we've been talking about all day. Move the needle. Not really. What do you think about the signing of LaFleur as a coach?
It's a good hire. I mean, the Rams were one of the best, if not the best, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely one of the best offenses.
Obviously, Matthew Stafford, I think he's going to win MVP, should win MVP. Cooper Kupp's potentially going to win Player of the Year, best receiver in the league this season, outside of Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's in the Super Bowl. But it does move the needle for them offensively. Obviously, to get a better head mind at the offense coordinator position. Well, not offense coordinator position, but a better offensive perspective for them. You have Trey McBride, you have Amari Mercado, you have Michael Wilson, you have Michael Carter. They have some good players. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously Kyler Murray, like we said before. But I think Kyler, with his injuries, his mobility is not what it used to be, and his accuracy at times is very questionable. And also his attitude as well. It's a bit of a cancerous attitude, and they probably want to potentially move on from him. But depending on who they can move on into the draft, obviously Fernando Mendoza, they can swap. Get rid of Kyler Murray for Fernando Mendoza for the way he played and his character and the person he is. I think that'll be a perfect, hire and perfect draft for a new hire.
Yeah, I think he's built for success. That team has the pieces, but just hasn't been able to put it together. And if he figures it out, the Rams could be good. The only issue, like I said, is just the NFC West is so strong.
It's a bloodbath. It's always a bloodbath every single year.
And then another head coaching buzz. It's not official yet. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, looked like to be on his way to Vegas. It was between the Cardinals before they hired LaFleur and the Raiders, and it looks like he's going to be choosing Vegas. He said he's still all in on Seattle, which now makes me a little bit nervous. It's the same thing with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, pretty much finding a new job before your season's over. And
Well, I mean, the professional, I can kind of give him a little bit of a break compared to college because, college age, you deal with kids that are 17, 18 years old. Go into college because you're the main head coach. And then once you leave, it's like, do I go? Do I stay? Do I transfer? I think it's more of an impact at the college level than the professional level. I mean, these are grown men. These are,
Mhm.
you have to make the best decision for yourself and your family. So, him to go into Las Vegas, they have the number one pick if I'm not mistaken, right? So
yeah, they're gonna
they
pick
could
Fernando
they
Mendoza,
will most likely pick him, and then you have Aston Genty there.
Brock Bowers,
Brock Bowers,
Max
is there.
Crosby.
Max Crosby. They have nice players, but it's those players, and then everyone else is just like you need to figure out the rest of the roster. They have the money and cap space. He's got to convince players.
And Brady now
Yeah.
is still at the helm up there. He's
Yeah.
making all the choices with the owner. I think Woody Johnson, right? Is that the owner? I think.
And then you look at their cap space; they're second in the league in cap space in this upcoming
Not
NFL
Woody
offseason.
Johnson.
They have $87 million. So who do you go after and sign? And that's a big free agent that can move the needle for them. I don't really have.
I don't know
all the
why. I was thinking of Woody Johnson. He's the Jets owner.
he's the
I'm
Jets
thinking of
owner.
Mark Davis.
Mark Davis, yes, he's the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. But I don't even know who they can really sign that could be a big free agent. When you look at the free agents, you have Travion Henderson who wants to leave Cincinnati. He's a star pass rusher, been one of the best star pass rushers in the league past 6-7 years. I just realized I just made that joke. You have Mike Evans, but Mike Evans towards the end of his prime. Trayvon Diggs, what a fall off he had. He was a star corner a couple years ago for the Cowboys. Now he's just
Washed.
just washed. They're of it now. Christian Kirk, okay. Khalil Mack, he's up there in age. Debo, same thing, washed. It's not that many tantalizing free agents. Like a lot of these guys are older names that are, kind of like washed. Travis Kelce's in the part of that mix. Aaron Rodgers is potentially could have another year, maybe.
I think he should retire.
Yeah, I think he should retire. Daniel Jones looked good, but then he tore his Achilles. So can he bounce back? Yes, like the free agency market isn't looking very, very hot. Jamel Dean, okay, that'll be a nice player to add. But yeah.
So I'm also going to go over just a couple headlines. One just broke. Giants are going to be hiring Chiefs offensive coordinator or former offensive coordinator Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator to join Jim Harbaugh. A couple other ones is that I'm seeing here. Let's see. At least big ones. Raheem Morris, former Falcons coach, is going to be the defensive coordinator for the 49ers after losing Robert Saleh. Saints will be the first home team to ever play a game in Paris.
That'd be nice to see.
Seahawks are going to go for sale after Super Bowl. Price is expected to be $7 to $8 billion, which is a lot. Interesting to see who buys it. Those are the big ones. And do you have any Super Bowl storylines you want to get into quickly? And we do like a little handshake bets of our first song for maybe Bad Bunny, what he's going to come out and start the halftime performance with.
Oh, yeah. Congrats to him, by the way. He won the Grammy. Well, was it Album of the Year?
Album of the Year.
Last Song of the Year as well. I mean, like I said, I'm a Giants fan, so I don't like the Patriots. I'm obviously automatically pick the Seahawks. I also saw there was reports that they could potentially sell the team after the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, they are. They're selling the team. They're putting it up for $7 to $8 billion.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge profit because the old owner Paul Allen died like 2017, 18. So they've just been waiting on to make a big move there. But hopefully it's a blowout. I don't think it'll be a blowout because quarterbacks are Sam Darnold and Drake May. They're not, top guys that you think of as the best quarterbacks in the league. But I think it'll be competitive. Hopefully Seahawks win 20. Let's say, I think they'll score 3 touchdowns, one from Jackson Smith-Jigba, maybe a defensive touchdown because they have elite defense, and then maybe Kenneth Walker or Cooper Kupp or I don't even know, AJ Barner. Like they have a lot of
weapons.
They do have a lot of weapons.
My Hawks are we're rooting for them. We're rooting for my Hawks. I'm saying that with the Boston Celtics hat on. But I mean, Seattle fan at heart. Was never really big into football growing up. My dad is a Commanders fan. Again, never really picked up the Commanders as my team. And then I saw Marshawn live. I was a big Skittles guy growing up as a kid and still am. Grandfather always used to get it for me as a kid when I visited. And then when I saw, I think one of the first ever games I watched was Marshawn. And then I saw the fans throw Skittles onto the field after he scored a touchdown. I'm like, that's my team. And I didn't like when he went to the Raiders, so I just stuck with Seattle after that. But I'm going like I've had the prediction, same one. I'm 27-20 Seattle. Something is hitting that for me. And I really like Cooper Kupp to get in the end zone for a touchdown. I like potentially Rashid Shaheed for a deep ball from Sam Darnold or a special teams one because I know that could be a game changer as well. Excited for the commercials. It's going to be good. A lot of food. We're going to be watching together at a Beachmont Tavern, which is down the street from Iona. It's going to be a good time. I think Bad Bunny is going to kill it.
Yeah.
Excited to see him. I think Titi Me Pregunto is going to be the first song because that's one of the more recognizable ones. You got to get the crowd into it from the start. But I think it's going to be a great day. A lot of good commercials. So it's going to be fun. I know Budweiser is going to come back with their, I think the horse. I think there was like, I don't know if it was like a duck with the horse or something, but I'm excited for that one. That one's always an emotional one that everyone always looks forward to. A lot of good movie trailers are supposed to be coming out as well. No Marvel, which is sad. But we'll get through it.
Michael Jackson movie is coming out too.
Did you see the trailer for it?
I did not see the trailer.
It looks good. So once we get off the podcast radio show, you gotta definitely watch it. It's pretty good. The nephew of Michael Jackson's playing him.
Oh wow.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not know that whatsoever. I thought they found like a doppelganger that's, a good singer.
No, that's his nephew, Jafar Jackson. Yeah, you gotta look it up.
Oh yeah, you're right. 29 years old, nephew of Michael Jackson. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he looked just like Michael Jackson. So it's gonna be they're releasing a trailer for that movie, actually, releasing one for the Mario movie, which I don't know why at 22, 23 years of age, I'm still very excited to watch that. But come on, you grew up with Mario. You gotta want to watch that. I think, do you have anything else to add of what happened this weekend or anything you want to add before we go?
I think the only thing I'm probably gonna add because what I'm wearing. Go Arsenal. We played to the second leg of the Carabao Cup. We're up 3-2. Hopefully you don't choke it because
What do you play today?
We played Chelsea at home. 3-2 Carabao Cup final. Well, semifinal. If we win this, we go to the final. Last time we were in this position, we lost to Newcastle, who's on the other side of the bracket against Man City. So hopefully we can reach our first final since I think the last time we were in the final was 2020 in the FA Cup, and we won that. So go up Arsenal.
Yeah, my dad is a big Liverpool guy. I don't know if they're in the tournament or not. Big into European soccer. I find myself liking to play more than watching, but shout out to Pops with the Liverpool shout out. And I think that's going to do it. We're going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Weekend Sports Recap. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. And we will be back next week with definitely a lot to discuss. We would have the whole Super Bowl to discuss. We have WBC rosters officially out. We'll have talk about the trade deadline. In the NBA, that should be out as well. Pitchers and catchers to report by the time this time next week. I think it's 10th, 11th that the pitchers and catchers report. So we'll definitely have a lot to talk about. Great games coming up this weekend. And one that's been on my radar, St. John's at home versus UConn. It's going to be a great game. Excited to see that at MSG. So thank you for everyone tuning in. And we will be back next week. Same place, same time, 9 a.m. on WIUR Radio on YouTube.
Untouchable, unstoppable.
This is WIUR